Hey YouTube, this is the third part in my Nitro Beginner's Guide to Nitro RC. This part is called Engine Basics, and how an Nitro engine works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the basics of how one of these things works and the key components within it. So first thing, easiest thing we're going to look at, air filter. It's just a piece of foam, really. A piece of foam that lets air through it but traps dirt molecules, like a sieve, really. So, easiest bit out of the way. We'll move. Now, the carburetor is just this thing here. It's this slidey bit. It sometimes twists like this as well. Now, what this does is, if you can see inside here, yeah, there you go. You can see there's a gap inside. Now, what this gap does is controls the air that goes into the engine. Now, if you think about it like this, fire needs three things to burn: fuel, oxygen, and heat. Now, the fuel is in your nitro fuel. It's the alcohol in your nitro fuel. The oxygen is from the air, basically, and then the heat is from your glow plug and around your actual engine itself. Now, if you control the different amounts of fuel and oxygen that are allowed into your engine, you're going to get a different burn inside your engine. So if you have a little bit of fuel and a little bit of air, you're going to get a little bit of burn. So you're going to get, the piston is going to be blown down from the top of the engine to the bottom relatively slowly. Well, still pretty quickly, you know, but slowly. And if you have lots of fuel and lots of oxygen, it's going to be a bigger bang, and that's going to go down faster. So the more this is open, the more fuel and air mixture is allowed in, so the faster your RPMs, rev per minute. So that's basically that. That's all the carb does. And then you're going to see on the end here, you've got a little screw there and a big shiny screw here. Now these are your this is your high-end needle, and this on the end is your low-end needle. What these do is fine-tune the amount of oxygen or air and fuel that goes into your carburetor, which then mixes the two together and then sends it down into your engine. So basically what these needles do is, if you imagine like this is a pipe and then you're screwing something in from here. So if you're screwing something in, you're screwing it in and you're closing up the pipe, so then less stuff can get through. That's either the air or the fuel. So the more you screw these in, the less fuel is going to get through. So this is called leaner because you have less fuel and more oxygen. And then if you have more fuel and less oxygen or air, it's called richer. So that's screwing this back out again. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is fuel. Now, fuel is made up of three major things. You have your alcohol, which is the methanol, oil, which lubricates your engine, and nitromethane, which is something called an oxidant or an oxidizer. This gives it extra oxygen. The more oxygen you have, the bigger explosion you get in any burning. So that's just to give it some extra oomph, really. So if you, when it talks about on fuels percent, you can have like 15-16% all the way up to like, well, 70% some people use. That's really just with big nitro plain engines. But basically the biggest you're going to find on a nitro car is 30%. What this means is the amount of nitromethane, the stuff that gives it that oomph, in the fuel. So the higher percent you have, the more rapidly your fuel will burn, so the more power you'll get. If you use too high percent, you're going to burn out your engine really quite quickly, but you will get high performance. Next thing I'm going to talk about is cooling. Now, you see this big thing on top, you probably figured that out already. That's for cooling. It's called the cooling head or the heat sink. Now it's basically made up of little plates of metal, and what this does is increase the surface area of the engine. Now you also have cooling fins down here and on the engine mounts down here, Now all these do is draw the heat away. So as the air moves through the engine, through the heatsink or cooling head, sorry, it pulls the heat away. So it has more surface area to warm up. So the heat is dissipated faster than it would be if you didn't have this on here. But you'd think that this is all the cooling. Actually, this is only 25% of the cooling. These fins on all over the engine, only 25% of the cooling. 75% of the cooling is done by oil running through your engine. Now the oil doesn't burn. Well, it sort of does burn, but it comes out as that smoke, you see? So it doesn't actually create any power. Now that smoke is taking away so much heat, 75% of the overall heat which need to be taken away from the engine, in order to keep it nice and cool. So if you don't have any oil in your engine, it's going to cause the parts to be non-lubricated, so they'll wear away, and also it's going to completely overheat your engine, which is why if you make it leaner, if you make your engine leaner, more air, less fuel, you get a hotter engine, because there's not enough oil running through it to cool it. So next thing I'm going to talk about is back pressure. Now, you'll hear people talking about back pressure. All this is after your nitro, after the piston's gone right to the top, and it's detonated off your glow plug at the top of the engine, it's going to be forced back downwards, and the fuel and air that's just exploded is going to expand rapidly, and this causes all the exhaust gases to come out the back. Oh, sometimes you have a that hole on the side instead. It just really depends. Most of the time though, it's on the back. And now these all come out here, and then they go down into your exhaust pipe down here. And on your exhaust pipe there's a little tube that comes off, and now all this tube does is some of that exhaust, some of those exhaust gases go through that tube and into the fuel tank to pressurise it, and that forces more fuel back into your carburetor. So that's basically that. Not very complicated, but you know. And so I'm going to run over. Yeah, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the heatsink off here, and I'm just going to show you what's inside. The heatsink off here. It's just this lots of fins stacked on top of each other. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop it out of there. So you can see my glow plug sticking out here. Let me just move the camera a little. There we go. See my glow plug sticking out the top on there. And then we have this plate here. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the plate. Just comes off right like that. Pretty good seal. And then at the bottom of the plate, I'll let you have a look at the bottom of the plate. It's just the bottom of the glow plug on there. Then just a plate. And then you can see inside here, you can see your piston going up and down inside your engine. Now the thing around it is called a liner. Now that's actually removable. I would remove it for you, but it's easy to take out, but then it's one of those things that is really hard to put back in, and I really don't want to take it out. So I thought I'd just show you inside there, give you a nice idea of what inside of a nitro engine is like. Now that's what I'll get onto now. Nitro engines work all through compression, right? Now compression is, as the name states, where the gas where the fuel air mixture, which I talked about earlier, inside the engine is under compressed state. Now when this is under pressure, it becomes more flammable. So when the piston reaches the top of the engine, because your glow plug, if you look in your glow plug, you've got this tiny little filament inside the glow plug, which is like a cool bit of wire. Now this bit will always be the hottest part in your engine. So when your piston reaches the top dead center, glow plug rather than anywhere else in the engine. So yeah, I think this concludes this video. I was working hard to get a new channel background, so make sure you check that out. And of course, if you like what you see, please subscribe. I'll have new videos up most weeks. See you next time.